Welcome back to another episode of the Cameras and Coffee podcast. Today we're talking with Amanda Perkins, and she is going to talk with us about building a team, an associate team, to scale your photography business. And I want to tell you a little bit about her before she comes in. Amanda is a photographer, mompreneur, and business leader. She's passionate about helping people design and operate businesses that help fit their life and not the other way around. When she's not keeping her team like a well oiled machine, she's teaching others to do the same. And you can find her most likely homeschooling her kids, traveling the country with her family in their camper named Callie. Inside the office or not, you can count on Amanda to make people laugh and find humor in everything. Welcome, Amanda. I'm so excited for everyone to hear about this um, different perspective of an associate team. And maybe people are already doing it this way. I don't know. So, well, welcome. Are you drinking anything this morning? Same. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I don't remember who told me that, but they even said like grind a little bit. I wouldn't use iodized, but I would use like pink Himalayan or something because apparently it gives you more electrolytes. I don't know. Maybe it helps you from like being more less of a diuretic. I don't know, but fancy terms. Um, but I've heard about putting it in the grounds when you brew it. So I've never like directly put it in my coffee, but yeah, it makes it more smooth, which is what I like. Anything to make it taste better. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, give me the coffee. I need it so bad. So tell us where you are from or where you're based, I guess. So that people can kind of know. I know I'm from Michigan and I'm based here in Michigan near Grand Rapids. So where are you at? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Also, that like changes all the rules of everything too. Like when it comes to business, you're like, ah, shoot, I gotta get like business here, business there, whatever. Also, like the laws are different everywhere too, so that makes things fun. I'm sure. Um, yeah, I'm kind of interested just to know like where you came from and how you got into photography, and then how you got to like training an associate team. So, kind of explain that a little. Yes. Right. Okay. Mm, okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. Mm, yep. Mm. Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm. Wow. That's awesome. I think the first time I ever heard the term associate team was through Jenna Kutcher. I don't know if you know her, but back when she was a like major wedding photographer, and then she started adding to her team. And I'm like, how does that work when your name is Jenna Kutcher? Because I've only known like big companies to have photographers under them, but I'm like, how do you have someone represent your brand? So I was like very intrigued. Obviously, I wasn't on that level quite yet. That was like back in 2017. Um, where I was like still like getting into it. I shot like a couple weddings a year, not very many. But yeah, I was like, how does she do that? And then I was like, oh, okay, these people are under her brand, but I was like, do they have their own business too? Like it was just something that I was just like like just kind of getting an inside look. Yeah, yeah, it really was. And then first time I got hired as an associate photographer was back in 2020. Um, yeah, it was a lot of those like double bookings trying to get, and we were a completely closed state for a couple months. So yeah, like everything got pushed to fall. And so yeah, everyone was trying to do their weddings in fall, small scale, all the things. So yeah, it was yes, it was a lot. Yes. Oh my gosh. I can't even believe like how long it's been. It feels like it was not that long ago. And I'm like, we're on year 4. So just crazy to think about. Yes. Yeah. I think there's people that are scared, especially when it comes to contracts, from the client side of like, and I was just reading someone in a forum where they're like, "Is it weird to make monthly payments? Like, they don't want to pay till the end." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, because they don't know if they're going to get their money back if like some act of God happens, you know? Like, so yeah, I get that. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but so we're going to dive into all the things. I'm excited to talk about this. And before I get too far, I'm going to mention there is going to be a free guide that Amanda has available for listeners. You can find that in the show notes, and we're going to cover some of that stuff um, and kind of dive in a little bit. But if you want something to take away from the episode, she has that for you. So you can find that link in the show notes. But let's kind of talk about scaling your business through being in more than one place at a time. So, like, let's kind of talk a little bit about what that means. Mm, yes. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Hmm. Mm. Yeah. There's so many questions I have from that too. But first of all, um, I know in your intro you talked about how you like to roam the country in your camper named Callie. So let's kind of talk about that. Where did the name Callie come from? I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. For real. Yep. Yep. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it is, and I struggle. I have a happy light that I use to like give me more vitamin D a little bit, so to get me through those winter months. But yeah, we had a very mild winter though this past year, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I'm always like, who wants to book something in Florida so I can come out there or California? I need to get out of Michigan. Oh, it's too funny, but so, first question I have is how do you present? And maybe this was more at the beginning now that you've built this brand of associates, but how did you present the idea of an associate to your couples? Oh, okay. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Mm, interesting. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That's something where when I first was thinking, I was like, okay, who could I pick? How can I find somebody that fits my brand to shoot this? How can I train them to shoot it through almost like how I would shoot it, even though I know like everyone's different and everyone's educational level is different. So I kind of am excited to talk about how you find your associate photographers. So let's kind of jump to that really quick, and kind of discuss like how do you find those people? Wow. Mm, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I do think there's a huge thing is finding someone who's teachable. And I think character is a big indicator of that because if someone's not teachable, like you're wasting your time. Because you're just gonna butt heads the whole time and that can be really, really struggling. Um, so kind of tell me about what is that like, and we'll dig more into like how you train, but like how long is that process typically from like when you first meet to like when they start booking a wedding? I know it's probably different for everybody, but like typically, like what is the average amount of time for you before they start doing it alone? Mm, yeah. Yep. Mm, yeah. Mm, Okay. And that can be kind of like stressful when you're like booking a lot of weddings and maybe someone has left or you're like transitioning or whatnot. But I have two questions from there. Hopefully I can remember them. One, um, do they like get their own gear? Do you provide gear for them? Like how does that work? Oh, oh okay. Yeah. Yeah. Also, like, during that training season, are they, like, considered an employee of you? Are they, like, an individual contractor? Like, how does that look, as far as working for you? Especially in the training season, like, are they doing that, like, on their own time? Is that more for the business? Kind of tell me about that a little. Okay. Love it. Mhm. Aw. It's so rewarding all around. I totally get it because it's like, ah, I kinda get it. Yeah. So kind of tell me, how do you present to them when someone's interested? Like, how do you present to them like this is an opportunity, like here's like the qualifications, here's the things that you need to be willing to do. Like what does that look like? Yeah. Yeah. Mm, mm. Mm. Okay. So I guess the next question is probably what listeners are probably wondering is how do you let someone go once you realize it's not a good fit? Yes. Have you had that happen? Okay. Mm, yeah. Mm. Oh, okay. Yep. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Also, then if like they're speaking into their ear, like this does not sound good, like, or it's like how much money is getting invested. Like, I'm sure the spouse is always wondering all of those questions. Um, they can even ask you right then and there, like on a professional level, which is really neat. So yeah, those are all really good things. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so, what would you say are types of associate teams to avoid wedding photography burnout? Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yep. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, and then I'm like curious, like, how does that work for training wise when you're traveling in the wintertime? Like, what does that look like? Is it more like videos that you've sent them? Are you doing one on one calls? Like, what does your training process look like for associate photographers? Yeah. Yes. Mm. Yeah. Something fast so you can figure out how to get that shutter at the right spot. Oh my goodness. Mm, love that. Oh, that's good. So what does it look like when they come with you on a wedding day? So you say they're like a second photographer. So are you shooting mostly everything on a wedding day yourself and they're shadowing you, or are you like divide and conquer and they're already shooting like the other couple member, and then you're shooting like one and then you're doing it on your own. Like, what does that look like? Or is it maybe based on their experience? Same. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's something I kind of brought on this year as an assistant. I'm kind of training someone. They wanted more experience, and I'm like, yeah, I'll pay you if you do these things too. Like, um, kind of in that retrospect. But I'd love to like keep her going and bring her on. But yeah, I'm kind of curious. Some people might wonder, like, how do you present that to your couple? Like, are they wondering like what that person's doing? Like why another person is there from your team that might need fed or whatever. Like, have you ever had an issue, or like, how do you present that to your couple as far as like, hey, I'm training this person, they're going to be there with me, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Yeah. That's always good. I've never had anybody have an issue. I just like put it on the timeline, like, hey, there's three of us. They've never questioned it. And it's honestly, I love it because I'm like, ooh, go get this. Ooh, go get that. Here, can you hold all of these things? And then I feel so mean. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm making you do all that. And I do try to like give them opportunity to photograph stuff too. I'm like, ooh, let's get this. And I recognize when there's a wedding where maybe the wedding party isn't so huge. And I'm like, you're probably going to get more shooting time today because it's not as chaotic. So that those are those opportunities where I'm like, okay, let's see how we can teach you a little bit more today, spend a little bit more time because it's not as busy of a day. Um, so yeah, let's kind of talk about the fears that maybe someone might have about growing an associate team or training associate photographers. Like, what's holding them back? Hmm. Mm, okay. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, I know like there's a lot of people that they wonder like, are my associates like Well, and they might be like instilling like you may not steal business or whatever. I've signed contracts where I'm like, how long does this last? Like, I don't know who is considered your client. So like if you're saying in your contract like that I could be punished for whatever if I steal a client of yours, but I don't know if those people have been your client outside of this wedding. Like, so it's kind of things like that where I feel that companies are worried that an associate photographer might take potential business away. So I don't know, that I think is a fear too that some people have. I don't know. Do you have anything you would say to that other than like, I know you test the character, but like, what would you say to someone who might have that fear? Mm, that's good. Yeah. No, I think that's good. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. Like, because I think we all think things belong to us. And it's like, how do we work in an environment in an industry that's trying to move forward into we can work together rather than against? And I think that's a really great mentality shift to think of because, yeah, I think a lot of people do. They struggle with the fact that they're like, these are my people, but I love that. I love that you mentioned that like they're just not your fit. I have that feeling all the time. And I think it's because I have a security like fallback. Some people don't. And so I think sometimes that gets to them when they're like, this is my business, all I have. This is how I have to feed my family, like, or whatever. So then they hold on. It's almost like that sparse mentality, like, I can't let that go. So yeah, I don't know. That's just yes. Yeah. It is crazy. I totally agree. It's quite a thing. I feel like sometimes when you can manifest a little bit and be like, this is where I'm at, it almost it and then it ends up having you attract people with that too. Like I've rarely had a couple who wasn't in that same thinking process and their character was like honorable and like we just meshed so well. It's funny because like in the beginning I was like, oh, I would love to find my people. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've always attracted super kind people. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just me like in my personality and they're attracted to that. I don't know. I don't think I'm the most amazing thing, but I guess someone's resonating with it. Um, but yeah, that's so good. And when you can build your brand from the ground up with your associates, I love that. Like that's something I've really like when you presented like this is a totally different mind shift of associate photographers where I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing where I'm training this year. Like I'm training them from the ground up. Like they got their camera, they're trying to figure out like all these settings. I'm giving them feedback. And so it's a lot like that where I'm like, oh yeah, this is so much easier when someone's teachable from the beginning than someone who's had major experience and they're like, why would I do it that way? Or, so yeah, yes, exactly. I also love too, like that they're beginning like a shadow of you because before they even like understand completely their settings, they're getting to know what a wedding day is like. So it's not like they're like, oh, I know all these things, and then frustrated that their settings aren't right or the posing's not right. Like they're getting like the timeline of like how a wedding works. Um, and I think that's so important because sometimes and I maybe you agree, maybe you don't, I don't know. But I think a lot of times, like when you are thinking of it from a standpoint of just photography, it can really blindside you on how to make that the best day for the couple. And so I feel like when you can learn those things before you get all the technicality parts of it, you can kind of realize like, oh, this matters more than that image I have to capture. And I think a lot of times that is something that is more teachable and more important teachable than any camera setting to create, because obviously like people remember their images more about how they felt in them than they do than what they look like. If they just felt like crap in that moment and they were the most beautiful image, they're going to hate it. um but even if it's like a blurry photo or whatever, and they're gonna love it because it's a moment that was like really awesome, you know? So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents thrown in there. Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, and that's like the biggest thing that you can teach too, is like how to deal with these and how to like address these issues or whatever. Do you get like a lot of contact from your associates during the wedding day, or do you feel like once you get them on that level, they're confident enough where they don't have to like message you and all of that on a wedding day? Okay. You're like, everything's going well, right? Aw. Yeah. It's always like no news is good news, but also you're like on the edge of your seat, like everything's going well, right? Do you feel like you're in the moment of comfort where you're not like having to check everything and you're like, okay, my team's got it? Um, did that take a while for you to like get used to when you first started doing it? I would imagine. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I had my first associate team last year. It was one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to prioritize my family vacation that we do every year. And this couple was like, we really want your brand. We're willing to do an associate team. So yeah, the whole time we're like in a water park and I'm like, do I have to keep my phone on me? I'm so nervous the team's going to ask me something. But it was fine the whole time. But I just felt like, I'm like, would it have almost been better to be there? And I'm like, no, I was like, I can put my phone away. Like they keep reassuring me. So yeah, over time, I'm sure that security just gets in there. But um, well, you've given us a ton of your time, and I just wanted to throw in one last thing, if see if you had anything else you wanted to mention before we end this episode. So yeah, yes. Well, with that said, where can we find you all over the web? Like, let us know. I love that. And you have a YouTube channel, correct? Love it. I love it. We also have handles for the podcast. So you can find us at karahainesphotography.com/podcast, or you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Cameras and Coffee Podcast. Amanda, this was so great. I love it. I love like the switch of thinking about this. Hopefully this is really helpful to someone who's considering it, haven't even thought about maybe doing it. They've maybe been turning weddings down when they don't have to. Um, and kind of go from there. So thank you for being on today. Yes. Okay. Well, until next time, my friends, cheers.